I'm not particularly eager to go to their housewarming, that vulgar, awful couple. Best to just ignore them. But what's with demanding $3,000 for a gift without even sending an invite? And why are they so obsessed with money? If they're hiding something, I'll uncover it. My name is Kristen. I'm 45, the eldest of 3 siblings, sandwiched between an older brother and a younger sister. They say closeness in age means getting along well, but that wasn't always the case with us. When I was in my 20s, my brother Travis got married. His wife, Yasmin, a former model, was kind of glamorous or too flashy. She wasn't the beauty you might imagine, having only appeared in local magazines. Slim, tall, but with a face that seemed stretched. Honestly, she lacked something. Too harsh, you think? No. I wouldn't badmouth someone just because they married my brother. But Yasmin was missing more than just good looks. I don't know how she was before marriage. At family meetings, my sister Madison and I thought she was nice, but looking back, she must have been wearing a mask. The first time Travis and Yasmin visited our parents after getting married, Yasmin got upset during dinner when Mom coughed and exclaimed, "Gross! That's why I hate old people. Other than my own parents, I only came because Travis insisted. I shouldn't have come. You've ruined my appetite." Madison, Mom, and I were all stunned. Honestly, we didn't even understand why she was so upset. Maybe she finds older people who aren't her parents disgusting. Mom wasn't coughing at the food. She covered her mouth and turned away. It was just a momentary choke, not even a cold. But Yasmin couldn't tolerate Mom's cough. I remember I coughed at the table too, but she said nothing then. Mom, having prepared a feast for Travis and his wife, was deeply hurt, and Madison and I struggled to console her. Travis, unreliable as ever, just apologized to Yasmin, saying, "Sorry Mom's messiness bothered you, right? Old people are just smelly and problematic." Travis, always a follower, seemed completely under his wife's thumb after marriage. That day, Madison and I had to forcibly send Travis and his wife away. But Yasmin, now resenting being ousted by her younger sister-in-law, began to see me as her main enemy. She thought Madison was just following my orders because she's younger, but really, Madison was the first to snap, saying, "Kick them out." I was just caught up in it. Mom always told us, they are newlyweds. They might be emotionally unstable. Let it go and try to get along. Even though she had every right to be the angriest, out of respect for Mom, I'd agree. But after that, Travis and his wife stopped visiting. So Madison and I secretly rejoiced every holiday season. Who wants to have their festive mood spoiled, right? However, Yasmin didn't just get visits. She didn't even show up when Mom suddenly fell ill and passed away. Travis, being the eldest, did attend the funeral. He must have remembered Mom's repeated advice, "Get along with your sisters." As kids, he was a kind brother who helped us with our studies and looked after us. I couldn't bring myself to hate Travis, despite disliking his wife. During Mom's wake and funeral, the atmosphere among us 3 siblings wasn't bad. It was actually quite harmonious. I was starting to rethink Travis, wishing Yasmin wasn't around. 2 years after Mom passed away, I decided to marry my longtime boyfriend, Kyle. Actually, it was already planned, but got postponed because of Mom's passing. Reluctantly, I arranged a simple dinner to introduce him to Travis and his wife. The moment Yasmin learned Kyle's family owned a steakhouse, her face contorted. "Ew, how can you marry someone who's always around greasy smells, Kristen?" Yasmin's rude comment was immediately met with Madison's fierce, enough from you." Her low, scary voice scared me too, but that's a secret. "Easy, Madison." "A steakhouse, huh? Do you eat steak every day?" "Sounds nice," Travis said, playfully hitting Kyle's head. Annoyed, I raised my voice. "Hey, stop that!" Kyle was shocked by this outrageous behavior from his wife's family. "How embarrassing my brother and his wife are. It's just communication. Don't make a fuss over small things," Travis said, sniffing his hand after hitting Kyle. "Yuck, it does smell." Yasmin was right. Travis acted like a middle schooler making a scene with his wife. "That's enough. Let's go, Kyle." "I'm sorry for introducing you to these people," I said as I pulled his hand and tried to stand up. Travis yelled again, "Hey, don't talk nonsense. Why marry a butcher? You're not badly looking. I could have introduced you to a lawyer or something." "I love him, okay? And it's a steakhouse, not a butcher shop. Stop being so rude." You, a butcher. Are you throwing your life away? Yasmin looked at Kyle as if he was filth, then stared at me. Arguing with them was pointless. I was a fool to think Travis would be a good brother without Yasmin. I tried to follow Mom's wish to get along with Travis, but I was naive. Whether it was the unfulfilled wish, betrayal by Travis, or frustration, tears blurred my vision. Well, if you're leaving, we'll go have fun. Travis and Yasmin left, unconcerned about our irritation. What was that? Did it cause a scene and then leave? Madison glared after them. I agreed. I wish they had apologized to Kyle that day. I apologized to Kyle repeatedly, but he always smiled and said, "It's fine. I'm proud of my job no matter what they say." I knew I made the right choice marrying him. Our wedding was just a registration without a ceremony, so we didn't see Travis and his family again. I almost forgot the unpleasant memories from the family meeting until one day Madison called. "Madison, what's up? You usually hate calling." You got it too, right? Wanted to talk about it." "Got what?" "You know, the invitation to Travis's housewarming." "I didn't get anything." "Oh, I thought you would have received it. We live in the same area." As I listened to Madison's words, I realized they didn't send it to me. He didn't want to invite me, and I don't want to see him either. Hearing that, Madison brightened up. "Actually, I didn't want to go either. If you were going, I might have, but now I'll skip too." "Let's do that." Madison and I chuckled together, and she later told Travis she wouldn't be attending his housewarming. Then, 3 days later, something happened. Travis called me. Almost reflexively wanting to turn off my phone due to my aversion, I hesitated, thinking it might be about Madison, and reluctantly answered. "Hey, did you talk Madison into not coming to my housewarming?" "What?" "No, Madison just..." I stopped myself mid-sentence, wondering how much truth I should tell my brother. "Your tone, there's something going on between you two. Look, it's problematic if she doesn't come to the housewarming. And you too." "Me too? I wasn't even invited." "Right, because I don't want my new house smelling like oil. You're probably all covered in your husband's grease too, so I didn't invite you." This man always knows how to get under people's skin. I tried not to engage with his illogical reasoning and just sighed. "But as siblings, it's only polite to give a housewarming gift, even if you don't visit." "What?" "Instead of coming, just transfer a gift of $3,000 to my account. I'll send you the details later. Tell Madison to come. It would look bad if my own family doesn't show up. This guy is unbelievable. He doesn't want us at his celebration but expects a gift. What's wrong with him?" "There's no way I'll admire you," I muttered. "Okay, sure." Fed up, I hung up. I thought he'd give up, but he kept calling back, forcing me to turn off my phone. When I turned it on the next day, he called again. It was too persistent and weird. $3,000 for a housewarming gift is excessive. Why does he want it so badly? I know Travis isn't struggling financially. I wanted to block him, but I worried about Madison since she's single. Reluctantly, I left my phone on silent. Almost a year later, Yasmin showed up at my house. I ignored her at first, but she kept ringing the doorbell loudly, so I had to answer. Completely rude to visit without notice. Oh, right. She's the epitome of rudeness. "What do you want?" I asked as I opened the door, and Yasmin immediately bowed deeply. "Please, Kristen, help me." Confused, but realizing it was about a specific issue, I saw Travis standing behind her. I see. Ah, the satisfaction of looking down at someone begging. "Is this about the restaurant ban?" Travis and Yasmin nodded. "Get your husband to let me into his steakhouse, please." "Why? I thought you didn't want to be in a greasy place." I couldn't resist the sarcasm, even though Kyle's place isn't greasy at all. "We were wrong that time. We didn't know you'd be so upset." "That time at the family meeting? You think someone wouldn't be angry after that? Yasmin, is your head just full of flowers? Are you a fool?" At my sharp words, Yasmin fell silent. Actually, Kyle's Steakhouse is near Travis's company. It's quite an upscale place, often used for business entertainment by Travis's company and their clients. If that crude exchange at the family meeting hadn't happened, we could have talked more. But the atmosphere was never right, so it remained unspoken. Moreover, Kyle, knowing I didn't think highly of Travis and that he had insulted our beloved restaurant, decided to refuse entry to Travis. "Please, Kristen, help us. We might lose a big deal if we don't get this sorted," Travis begged. Initially pleading, he then looked embarrassed and ashamed. Thinking about the future, I said, "Travis, I heard you got drunk at a business dinner and called a man in his 50s an old man and got removed from the account." "How do you know that?" Travis exclaimed. "That old man is a regular at Kyle's place. He came in the other day drunk, ranting about you, Travis. Normally, I'd ignore such confidential information, but this regular was so annoyed with you, he threatened to spread the story everywhere. In fact, Kyle heard about the incident from other customers too. Criticizing someone as old is never okay, and if you mess up this deal, aren't you getting demoted or fired?" Travis was stunned. "How do you know all this?" I smiled at his confused face. "That's the power of a regular customer with connections. He even suggested your company should demote you. You really picked a fight with the wrong person." Travis, moreover, this regular is a patron of our restaurant, indirectly supporting us. It's reassuring to have such a powerful ally. "Please, Kristen, we still have the mortgage. If I get demoted or fired, we can't survive," Yasin pleaded. But isn't it too late even if you get the job?" What do you mean, Travis?" "You've made a huge investment loss, right?" I looked at Travis, and Yasmin turned to him, her face tensing. Travis went pale. "I heard you started investing because you wanted more money after buying the house, but you screwed up big time," Madison told me. "Madison? Why her?" Travis was shocked at the mention of Madison. It seems like it was unexpected. "Your favorite dancer at the Gentlemen's Club, Riley, is Madison's friend." Travis was speechless, his vitality fading. If I left him alone, he would turn to dust and disappear, his expression drained of life in an instant. "Riley contacted me," continued when she found out Travis is her brother. Travis was at a loss for words, and I almost laughed but froze at Yasmin's terrifying expression. She looks very scary, not directed at me, but still frightening. "So you fall for a dancer, lose money in investment, ruin your work's reputation, now you're going to lose your wife too." Yasmin's words almost made me burst out laughing, but I held back. The atmosphere was too tense and hostile for laughter. Hilarious, but not the time to laugh. There was a brutal atmosphere that made my skin sting. Well, there's a reason for this, a reason I'll listen, but only for a bit." Yasmin stood up shakily and slowly approached Travis, emitting an ominous aura. Travis, sensing this instinctively, stepped back. They seem to be getting along well today, too. All is well, so you two sort this out amongst yourselves. Madison and I want nothing more to do with Travis, so don't contact or visit us again." I said this with a smile, waved goodbye, and closed the front door. I heard Travis shouting, "Help me!" But surely I imagined it. From what I could hear outside, it seems Yasmin was taking Travis somewhere. Hopefully not somewhere remote like the deep woods. I don't want family troubles making the news, not for me. Later on, about a year later, Yasmin sent Kyle and me an apology letter. It turns out she divorced Travis over hidden financial issues and debt, and she has cooled down since then. Her parents needing care made her reflect on her past actions and realize how shameful she had been. Now she's working at a restaurant near her parents' home, managing to care for them and support herself. I haven't forgiven her for how she treated Mom, so I haven't responded, but she seems to have grown. A year after that, Travis reached out to Madison and me separately. He asked us for money. Turns out after our encounter, he wasn't fired but demoted. It seemed like the problem was solved, but a man demoted like that couldn't be trusted with significant responsibilities at the company. So Travis became a burden there and was eventually fired due to downsizing during the recession. Despite being my brother, he's beyond help. Of course, neither Madison nor I lent him any money, and we quickly turned him away. I haven't heard any death notice, so he's probably still alive, but I have no idea what he's doing or where he is. Even if things were going well for him, if he's the same old Travis, easily swayed by others, he'll probably make the same mistakes again. As for our family, Kyle opened a second steakhouse. It opened during a pandemic, so it started slow and sometimes had to close due to regulations, but gradually it's attracting more customers and gaining regulars. Kyle and I have 2 sons who might one day take over the restaurants. If they don't want to, we'll pass it on to someone else. For now, they love steak and seem eager to keep the business. Hopefully one day we'll celebrate our golden anniversary at a restaurant run by our sons. About 5 years ago, Madison got married and recently had a beautiful baby girl. Once things settle down with the kids, we plan to take a family trip together.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look, "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day." Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. "So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. "Probably Sam." Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.